Welcome to Storytime with the Intimacy Ally. Each episode will tear down a myth, kick a social norm in the beanbag, gut punch a sex ed untruth, or destroy a poorly constructed relationship expectation. Get ready to unlearn all the crap you accepted as fact. Strap in for a mind-blowing revision on what sex is and what it can do. Prepare yourself for a whole new thought pattern when it comes to modern relationships. And now, here's your host, Jenny Simas, the Intimacy Ally, relationship expert and certified sex and intimacy coach.
Lovelies, welcome back to Storytime with the Intimacy Ally. It's me, Jenny Simas Leahy, your Intimacy Ally, and I am joined today by this amazing friggin' human. This is Marla Renee Stewart. Marla is a sexologist at Velvet Lips Sex Ed, an author, and the co-creator of Sex Down South. Marla, I want to welcome you. Oh, I want to reach through the thing and hug you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yay. And I just want to jump right in with you and ask you, what were you doing before this and how did you get started in the world of sexuality?
Absolutely. So I got started in this world really it was, I would say, pretty organic. I was in college and I was studying human sexuality. And I think the reason why I started studying human sexuality is because, I had came out at 16. My mom was what I would consider a sex positive parent. She might not have considered that, but she was just, afraid for me to be a teenage mom. So she just really educated me on my body and all the different changes and what might happen. And so I really grew up in a place where I felt comfortable to, express so much, as a teenager. And then as I got into college, just started to study human sexuality more. And I just became this, conduit of information for all of my friends who were just like, Marla, how do I resolve this? Marla, I've never had an orgasm. Like, tell me more, Marla, all the different things. And people knew me as like the sex person. And so I was really like, okay, this has to be my job. And I decided that and went into graduate school and was like, okay, I got to start my business. And I was like, well, maybe I'll start my business after graduate school. One of my best friends is like, start your business while in graduate school. And then that way, when you're out of graduate school, your business will be, up and flourish and all that stuff. So that's what I did. And yeah, so here I am today, still doing the same kinds of things, maybe a little slightly different, a little different trajectory, but for the most part, still studying human sexuality.
All right. Now, when you were in grad school, what did you go to grad school for, if you don't mind asking?
Yeah, I got my master's in sociology, studying gender and sexuality, and my focus was on Black folks who are in alternative relationship and sexual modalities. So Black kinky people, swingers, LGBTQ folks, yeah, kinksters, like all the folks in the alternative lifestyle. So I did my research on that. And so, yeah, that's where I'm at now.
Nice. Do you feel like that field is grown at all since you've been in this world?
Absolutely. I think I was one of the first studies that was published around that. And this was, long time ago, like 2013 or something like that. So,
Okay.
so since then, it has been, of course, cited many, many, many times because of, the field is growing. There's more people in the sexuality field, more people who are doing research around these, identities. So it's been super fruitful. And my research basically mimicked Dr. Eli Sheff's work, who was my mentor. And she, studied polyamory and was just like, I can't get into the world of kind of Black polyamory or Black alternative relationships. And I was like, I can, and I know lots of people. So it was, I'm really thankful to have her as a person I could go to model off of and to ensure that I was doing the work that, I love to do.
That's awesome. It's so funny that she has come up on 3 of my episodes so far of people who have either worked with her or lived with her or just worship her work. So that's pretty awesome. So now that you have done that, you've gone through grad school, you've done your writing, what happened next? What or when you were in grad school, did you listen to your friends and start that business? How did that happen?
Yeah, absolutely. I started Velvet Lip Sex Ed. I started to tell people, hey, I'm doing, somatic body work, sexology. I'm doing sex coaching. Like, come to me if you have issues or tell your friends. I got recruited to, friends told friends who got me into universities and teaching, at university sex weeks and or just coming into classes who had gender and sex classes. So being a guest speaker in those classes. So I really, from there it was really great just because I had a opportunity to learn, grow, see what people wanted. And yeah, from there it was just, ups and downs, of course, with any business.
Mhm.
And let's see, there was one point where I was really struggling in my business though. And I ended up taking a university job. So I was in a PhD program um, uh, at the university. And what ended up happening is that I just could not finish my PhD because there was a lot of racist things happening. They were like changing the rules for white students and not telling anybody else. And it later came out in an article in a third party audit that they were doing this. And so I was like, so I'm not tripping, like, because sometimes people are like, were
Right?
you tripping? Like, what was going on? Like, no, they really were just changing the rules for, because
Right.
I was like, I was in a cohort with the person that they were changing rules for. You know what I mean? So it was just like, but didn't tell me, didn't tell a lot of people. So it was just
Right.
really messed up. And so I ended up getting a university job on the on the promise that I would finish my PhD. And my supervisor knew, like, she was like, you need to finish, you need to finish. And I was like, I know I need to finish, but like at this institution, like it's not good. It's not going well.
Mhm.
And so it's fine. I ended up doing that for a couple of years full time and then transitioned to online, doing 1 to 2 classes a semester. But that's when my business really started to pick up. I started to be on more TV shows. I got, more opportunities to do more workshops. I was working out of my home, so I was doing workshops out of my home.
Mhm.
Um, throwing events, and then Sex Down South, like met Tia recruited me for an event that she was doing for a magazine launch. So I did a workshop. She was like, I fell in love, and like we just pretty much have been inseparable. Around, like, we've done events, like we curated my birthday parties together, and we were like, we should do something bigger. And then we came up with the Sex Down South conference. And so from there, we just, created the conference that we wanted. Her from the enthusiast side of it, because she's more of a sexual enthusiast. She's like traveled all over the world just to figure out more about sexuality and her and whatnot.
Mhm.
And me coming from the academic, research education side. And so it was like, when our powers combine, we
Right?
kind of made this Sex Down South conference. So it's been amazing. We're in our 10th year this year.
Mm.
And I'm just super proud of like all of the things that we have accomplished. So yeah, it's been a phenomenal journey. And then currently I'm on my way I'm in the PhD program at MSTI for clinical sexology. So
Okay.
I am still going to be Dr. Marla, which I'm super excited about. And not in a, wild, establishment that, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. We're gonna leave that badness there, right? Right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Moving
Yeah.
forward. And I'm happy to hopefully be Dr. Marla soon.
Yeah, that would be awesome. So let's backtrack just a little bit. Where were you when you were going to school? Are you in the same state? Like, did you kind of stay in the same area?
Yeah, no. I went to graduate school in Atlanta at Georgia State, and then I was there for 14 years. And then I fell in love and moved to Florida. So that is where I'm currently am at in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
All
And
right.
so I teach often in Miami. I was just there on Sunday teaching a workshop for survivors. And MSTI is out here too. So I did the IBOSP conference and but I teach virtually for them too. So, but
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. All
Mhm.
right. Has Florida been good to you for the work that you're doing? Is that
It's
something we
been
can get into?
right.
Mhm.
It's been interesting. I think it's a bit challenging, right? Because, there are sex therapists here, yes. However, with the as much as everybody has their ass hanging out here, the conservativeness around sexuality is really quite bizarre. In my opinion. I'm from California, mind you. I'm from Northern California, super hippie, super, San Francisco, Sacramento,
Right.
back in the day before San Francisco what it is now. But like it's it's a quite bit of a difference in the fact that the conservatism is just it's really real. People are
Mhm.
really kind of taken aback, and I think a lot of times that has to do with the folks that have made this space who come from very Christian, very conservative, religious backgrounds that have shaped that. So, has it been challenging? Absolutely. Is it still rewarding? Absolutely. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I stayed in Atlanta, and I feel not like I contributed that to Atlanta, but I
Mhm.
feel like us doing Sex Down South and the sexual liberation that we brought through Sex Down South and through my coaching and everything, my workshops have been able to um, get Atlanta to be a little bit more free, right? I mean,
Mhm.
but at the same time, this is the land of, was the land of Freaknik. So I can't say I contributed to that much, but there was a lot of conservatism. And I would say there's less conservatism now in Atlanta. But here in
Okay.
Florida, we're still a little bit of a struggle. And, but I travel a lot and I do a lot of work elsewhere. So, um,
So you get little
you know,
breaks.
yeah, yeah. So I'm good. I'm good I do a lot of virtual work. So
Okay.
I'm happy to keep doing that.
Now, can we jump more in depth into Sex Down South and like what that is? Because I'll bet you, okay, I can't guarantee, but I'm guessing a lot of my listeners don't know what it is, maybe have not attended. I have not gotten to go. I want to go. So, yeah, tell us about it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So Sex Down South, like I said, it's sort of an amalgamation of like Tia and I's like identities together. And so we created this conference where it is education. So it's education during the day. So you're learning a lot about all the different types of subjects, right? So from everything from, how to have better oral sex to how to have great fat sex to how to um be better at reproductive justice or what it takes to be a unicorn. I mean, I don't know, there's so many different kinds of workshops at
Right. You've done it for
SDS.
10 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Tantra inspired, there's some religious stuff, geographical stuff. There's lots of different elements
Hmm.
that are represented at SDS. And so with like I said, it's education during the day, and then we have typically 3 keynotes, 1 keynote a day. So the conference is always Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So at
Hmm.
the end of each day we have a keynote who basically tells us our story, educates us that way. And then in the evening, we have fun, entertainment, games, performances, people who are artists expressing their sexuality, on stage or around. And that is really another aspect of fun because I'm a big partier. Tia's not as much as a partier. So she's like the morning person and I'm like the night person. And we both we have a ton of fun. We have an amazing team this year. Our team has grown, we've grown like doubled like over the past couple of years. And
Oh,
so I
damn.
think since COVID. And
Okay.
so it's been really, amazing. But we've grown really fast. And we have a healing space, which is something I really wanted to ensure that we would have at the conference. So our very first conference, we've always had a healing space. So we always had healers. So people who are doing different kinds of healing modalities. So everything from cuddling to massage to Reiki to sound therapy to tarot readings to psychic readings to, we've had a gamut of different kinds of healing modalities in our healing space. And then we've also curated a dungeon. So we started our dungeon, I think probably a few years ago. I think it's been 3 or 4 years that we've had a dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
And so before we used to just have what I call education stations, or in Pacific Northwest, a lot of Kinksters call them tastings.
Right.
So basically, like, you want to try what a spanking feels like? Okay, here's what a spanking feels like.
Mm-hmm.
So we did those for the longest time until we had the dungeon. We're able to get the money to pay for equipment and all of that stuff. So we have a nice, beautiful dungeon. And we have on-call therapists who provide emotional support. So if anybody is feeling activated at any time, they're on call. They can get to someone to talk to immediately. We also have a quiet space. We call it our Emerald Sanctuary, which is a place, of folks who are neurodivergent. My business partner, Tia, is neurodivergent.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you just need a place to lay down, to color, or just be silent. So we have a nice quiet space for that. And we've also introduced sort of VIP. So if you want a VIP experience, we introduced that last year. Had some snags, but we're getting it together this year. And we have just really some fun stuff. We have like Kinky Olympics and lube wrestling, and we have just really fun games. And we love for people to bring in their ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are just like, whatever idea you bring, like, bring it to SDS. We are happy to like help implement it, with you. And the really great thing about SDS is that we center BIPOC folks. So Black and Brown, BIPOC folks, queer, trans, non-binary folks, folks in alternative sexual relationships, alternative sexual modalities, of course, Kinksters, non-monogamous people, sex workers, survivors, disabled folks. We hone in on these folks because these folks are our people. And
Yeah.
the reason why we even created Sex Down South was because we would go to these sex conferences and we'd be like the token Black person, or we'd be like one of five, or you know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
we really wanted to curate a space where we were the majority. And we've
Yeah.
been lucky enough to make that so.
Nice. And for the people who are professionals that are coming, can they get like CEUs? Does this count toward like their education?
Absolutely. I'm working on that now. So yes, Velvet Lips is an official Asexual CE provider. So I provide the
Nice.
CEs for SDS. So yes, for some of the classes, you are able to get CE certificates for certain classes. Absolutely.
Wow, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
So there's, because we have again, like I said, it's an amalgamation of us. So lots of educators, sex therapists, counselors, and then of course lots of enthusiasts who are like, I'm just here to have fun and learn some things, right? So,
Right.
or connect with community.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as like a disabled, big-bodied woman, like this sounds fantastic, right? Because you don't get represented or you don't get seen at these other things. And even if you go, like, do you guys do the SARS as well? Do you ever put on like a
Yes.
SAR?
So
Yeah.
yes, we have Bianca and Goody are going to be doing a SAR Sexual Labor Day Sexual Labor Day SAR. So they are doing that the weekend before the conference. That will be all
Okay.
virtual, so you don't have to be there in person. So all virtual. I believe it's 15 CEs. And so yeah, we've been promoting for that as well. But yeah, the focus is around, sexual labor and what that looks like.
Nice.
Sex
Yeah.
worker focus. Because our theme this year is sex worker focus. Red light special is what we call it.
Oh, nice. I love it. That is so good because it's missing. Like, I'm just gonna say, and like some other SARS that I've attended, like seeing different bodies, seeing different ages, seeing different types of bodies, and then also just not really getting into the power of sex work or the respect for sex work. I've seen it missing. So to hear that you're filling in this gap is fucking amazing. Woo! I'm
Yeah,
so
thank
excited.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, you gotta come.
I know. Now I got to figure out childcare. Come on now.
Well, that's another thing too. We often say, "Hey, if you need childcare, let us know," because we don't want that to be a barrier for people. And so we have people on deck that are like, "Whenever y'all need childcare, let us know." The weird thing is, we say this every year that we offer childcare, but nobody takes advantage of it because everybody is like,
Uh-oh.
"I do not want my child, I think, around." They're just kind of like, "I don't even want to think about my child. I want the child maybe to
Right.
be in another state or whatever."
Right.
So I get it, but my child is always there. My child is there. My mom is there to help me with my kid.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll come down every once in a while, check out the scene, or get his little hugs in with everybody. Um, but we do offer that for people who want it.
That is so cool because that is definitely something that has been a barrier for me, personally, to get to the live events.
Hmm.
Online, I'm like, I can make this work. But the live events, it's like, hey, what am I going to do? Blah, blah, blah. And I
Hmm.
have, they have a dad and a stepdad, and it's still rough. You know,
Hmm.
it's still
Hmm.
absolutely rough. So enough about me. Let's get back to you. So, when you were doing this, when you first started out, where were you finding the clients? Who were you
Mm.
looking to work with? If you don't mind jumping back in time a little bit with me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I first started, I was just like, who wants to see me help them? Right. So I didn't discriminate on who, I got. I just wanted people like in the door. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, so my focus was just to help people get their sex lives back on track, in the
Mhm.
ways that I could help them, and really coming out with or thinking about my sexual theory, which I published in the Ultimate Guide to Seduction and Foreplay. It is a sexual theory that I have been working with the entire time that I've had my business. So
Mhm.
laying that as the foundation was the thing that how I was able to connect with people. But as far as gaining clients at the beginning, I mean, like I said, I was like friends of friends, friends of friends, and friends of friends of friends, putting out there on Facebook, being like, hey, putting it on Craigslist, being like, hey, I'm open for business, really telling people that I'm here, and doing workshops, and I did workshops at like sex shops, so really trying to funnel people in, get people on my email list, so that I could, tell them, like, hey, look what I can do and look how I can help you. So
Mhm.
that I started writing, and publishing that writing. And so that helped, people to be like, oh, she has some knowledge, or I guess, establish your authority or whatever. So that was also helpful.
Mhm.
I also started a podcast. That was 2014.
Woo,
I
at the
soon
height
enough
of
I real
podcasts.
So that 2014 is I started a podcast, and that was really fun. I got the opportunity to uh collaborate with different people, and have their different audiences and have different subjects. So I did that for a little bit because I had so many different ideas. I was also like a Lyft and Uber driver at the time. So I
Right?
would ask people like, do you have any like, gauging the people, of course, when I told them like what I did. And if they asked me questions, I'd be like, would you like to share like a sex story? And so I would have those on the podcast. So random sex stories from strangers, sort of like the taxi cab
Like, I was
confessions
about to
type of
say,
thing,
that
you
sounds like
know?
taxi cab confession.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So just similar, and just like
Right.
getting people's different stories. So it was really great.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. So you had your ends here, and then when did you write the book? When did that come into it?
Yeah. So Jess approached me about the book because they had approached her about writing it. And she was like, oh, no, Marla needs to also be in this book. So I'm so happy that she decided to bring me on. And so we were like, we are very busy people. How are we going to write this book? So we were like, okay, we're just going to take these 2 weeks off of time. And I believe it was like in an April, maybe it was April 2019 or something like that. And we just took, or maybe it was February, I can't even remember. We took 2 weeks off, and I don't know what I was. No, I remember what I was doing. I was here. I had moved to Florida,
I was
but
about to say,
I
were you
went to
still
my
in Georgia at
parents'
that
house.
point? But you answered it for me.
Yeah. I went back to my parents in California, and I
Mhm.
stayed with them for 2 weeks because I was going to let me be away from my friends, away from distractions. And literally, Jess, was in Toronto at her home, and we just wrote, and we were just in contact, calling each other and be like, take a look at this, or take a look at that, or add this, or do this, or, so we were just, 24/7. We slept and then woke up and did the book. And so
Mhm.
it was all day, all night for 2 weeks, and we finished the book.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. And tell us about the book. Come on,
The
lay it
book
out
is
for us.
amazing. Yeah. The Ultimate Guide to Seduction and Foreplay. Um,
Yeah,
gosh,
you can
what
grab it if
techniques
you
and
want to.
strategies. I know. I'm like, no, techniques and strategies for mind blowing sex. So Jess and I, I love this book. It's so amazing. And the reason I love it so much is because it sort of acts like a workbook as well.
Mhm.
So it talks about our sexual theories. So mine around the seduction learning styles, hers around the core erotic feeling and the elevated erotic feeling. And then we go into practice techniques because I'm all about practice, right? So it's not only about the theories, but how you actually put them into practice and what that looks like. So actually giving those techniques. So we degendered it in a sense, right? We don't talk about gender, we just talk about body parts, right?
Mhm.
And we have everything from kissing to dirty talk to like all sorts of amazing. I just love it so much. Pervertibles, talk about kinky stuff a
Mhm.
little bit. Um, but I'm really proud of the book because it really helps people to be more self-aware in their bodies and just like
Mhm.
um what they want, what their wants, needs, desires are, and to really think critically about it. And then there's also, I have my building your sexual confidence exercise in there that I have worked with my clients and have been amazed with the results. So I'm happy to like have that, published in there. And yeah, so I'm just, again, it's just super proud of the book. And yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
All right. I'm gonna definitely link that in the show notes. So we're gonna have to get that in there. Is it available like anywhere people can buy a book? Is that pretty much what's up?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I can get you a short link to the bookshop too.
Okay. Yeah. I want to do it in the way that gets y'all the most money for it or whatever it is.
Yes, exactly.
So speaking of money, can we talk a little bit about how you help other people who are running businesses like this?
Yes, absolutely. So, over the years, I'm happy to say that I love what I do, and because I love what I do, I'm very passionate about it, and I am sought out because of that passion and what I maybe have contributed to the world. And so, what I realize is that a lot of us who are doing this work are doing it in siloed, and it's not helpful. It's not helpful, and it's not helpful for our success because we sit here and think, well, how can I be more successful? Or I need to take a full-time job somewhere else because this isn't, sustaining me. And
Mhm.
so my job, I developed the Be Successful coaching, business coaching program to help particularly, new entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs who haven't been solely focused on doing their thing, to help them make more money in what they love to do. So
Mhm.
establishing their authority, understanding their brand awareness, understanding how to funnel clients, understanding, how to sell yourself, understanding negotiating, understanding your
Mhm.
own finances, right? Because
Right.
I've had some colleagues who, were in trouble with IRS, for years because they weren't doing stuff right. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I just kind of
Whoosh.
lay out the foundation for
Mhm.
people to do that. So I give people my financial template that I use, that I give to my tax person, my marketing templates. Like I give them the things, the tools that they can use so that they can help be better, sex-based business entrepreneurs, or.
Right. And so can we talk about like the upcoming podcast that you're doing,
Yeah,
or is that a
sure.
thing? Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I've also been recording podcasts. Oh, I'm jumping back on the podcast train because before when I did the podcast, I was like, oh, this is cool. But I was like, it's not for me. I'll just be a guest on podcast shows. And that's what I did for many, many years up until this year. Right.
Right.
And so now I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to start a podcast because I hadn't really found like a lot of sex and business podcasts. There's some that maybe focus on sex work and things like that, but there really isn't any about like business. And so I
Mm-mm.
was just like, okay, let me interview my people who I know, making 85K, 100K, ask them about what they're doing to be successful, how they're being successful, and, all of those different things. So my podcast is just called the Be Successful Podcast. Hopefully it'll be launching soon. Uh,
Mhm.
I haven't put a launch date on it quite yet because I just put my little one in preschool a month ago. So I'm still gaining some of these hours back. I was behind on a lot of things.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm sure you know what that life is like.
I remember
And
vaguely.
so yeah, so I'm thinking about how I want to edit the podcast, but it's great. I want to, record hopefully maybe about 10 before I launch. Um, and so then I'll be able to sort of pump them out. But yeah, super
Yeah,
excited about the podcast and
me
whatnot.
too. I can't
Yeah.
wait to share it with all these people who I know who are asking those very questions. You know,
Mm,
how do you get successful doing this? How do I quit my day job doing this?
mm,
How do
yeah.
I turn this passion into money? And it's like, well, there's this woman who I know who's doing this, like, so I feel like you should meet her and listen to her. Yeah. Maybe take her up on some of that coaching, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and because one of the things that stop us is the advertising piece, the marketing piece.
It is so
And
fucking weird. Yeah.
yeah, it is. It really is. And so it's just like, so number one, it's like if you are relying on social media, that's probably not going to be your best bet, right? So we have to
Mm-mm.
think about ways and strategies that we can market ourselves that aren't just social media. So I definitely have like a free social media cheat sheet for people to be like, okay, I've been shadow banned or suppressed, or I don't understand why I'm not getting any likes or anything like that. I can help you
Mhm.
navigate that. And then I also have a class called Sexual Social Media, for people. So I go in and teach people, hey, this is what you can do. And you can use Chat GPT to do these things or whatever, right?
Mhm.
Um, and then along with the coaching program. So the coaching program itself is amazing. You get 4 live calls a month to talk about various things, marketing strategy, help with your clients, or just like some hot seat coaching. And of course, I have my Sex Biz Saturdays. That's on every Saturday, where I would love to bring in entrepreneurs to talk about their businesses and, how to help them. And so, yeah, that's kind of where I am at. So all of these, and I did a business summit as well. So that will be hopefully up on the website soon. But it was really great. It was called the Be Successful Business Summit.
Mhm.
And I want to do another one in the fall, but we'll see where I'm at. If I can catch up with work, I'll curate it again. But if I'm still behind, then probably not.
So where does Sex Down South happen now? Is that in Florida or is it in Georgia?
No, it's always in Atlanta. So it's
Okay,
always
it's
in
always in
Atlanta.
Atlanta. Okay.
And this year we actually have a film fete, which is like a film festival, the Love Out Loud Film Festival. So we're having that on the Tuesday and Wednesday before the conference. So if people want to come out early, or sometimes people like to just stay the whole week because we have Dragon Con, it's Black Gay Pride, it's like we call it Cluster Fest in Atlanta because there's just way too many festivals happening at the same time. And so that's over the weekend. So sometimes people stay from like, that Friday, Saturday to the Sunday or whatever through our conference. So,
Okay.
but we're at the Hilton downtown. And, so if you come in early, like Monday, Tuesday, you'll definitely be seeing some Dragon Connors, it'll be a cluster fest of folks that will
Right.
be transitioning in and out.
Now, can I get a little personal with you?
Absolutely.
I want to ask, because you had said, like, your mom's there, your child's there, what have you. Have you had any issues, like, as a person who operates in the sexology field, with family members, friends, what have you, like, not being supportive of that choice?
I've been very lucky, and no, everybody's been supportive of me.
Yay!
I think part of it is attributed to, the respectability, quote unquote respectability, just around being working at a university, having these certifications, being in the field for so long, writing a
Mhm.
book, having the established authority. So I think I personally haven't experienced any pushback or anybody hating. And a lot of times people think that, oh my gosh, you're in the South. I'm like, what about, these maybe super Christian groups? And I'm like, well, actually, I embrace religion, so I am not anti-religion. So churches have hired me to come
Okay.
in to do their couples ministries, to do workshops with them. So, I have studied a lot of different religions. So I'm very knowledgeable in a lot of religions. So I use that to my advantage for people who think that I might not know something or might not be able to help them. So I've helped everyone from, I just actually just had a lecture on, I was just did a sex therapy training, sexologist training last Saturday, around queering straight Black couples in the South and sort of what that looks like, and a lot of it has to
What?
do with, religious trauma syndrome or
Mhm.
Southern identity tropes, the gender role strain that happens with that. So I believe that my expertise is sort of um, uh, quite a barrier because I do have the knowledge and background and research behind what I do. So I think that puts me at the forefront of not being um, having any pushback or people kind of coming at me, sideways.
That's wonderful to hear. Because yeah, when you do talk about where you are in the country, that's the first thing that jumps in my mind.
Oh
It's
yeah.
just
Well, I mean, can you imagine, right? Like me and my wife, we took our baby to a drag show and had so much fun. Now, this was when he was maybe like around one or so,
Mhm,
and it was so cute. The drag queen like put the wig on his head, and he was just like looking, and he had so much fun, and he loved them, and he was giving them dollars. And then when we had the whole drag ban right here in Florida,
mhm.
that said you couldn't have kids where drag shows were. It was absolutely ridiculous. So that was, and they don't necessarily implement it anymore because it's been overturned or
Mhm.
whatever. But it was kind of a weird moment because I was like, well, I'm glad he got to the drag show in. I guess I'll just take him to a drag show whenever we're traveling, because
Right.
like this is just weird. And so um,
Mm,
I feel very lucky and privileged that I have the opportunity to expose him to more than what this state might try to suppress or put upon people. So,
right. And the
yeah.
state's big. Like, in my mind,
Yeah.
Florida is like heaven's waiting room for my people, so there's that. Because
Mhm.
that's just what happened apparently in my family. Like, you live in Maryland or PA all your life, and then you hit, like, 70 and you move to Florida because that's what you do.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
so, and only certain parts. Like, you go to Boca Raton or you go to,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Delray Beach. You
Oh,
don't you don't
yeah.
go you don't go to, like, Tallahassee, so
Right.
it's
Yep.
different. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Um, but
Palm Beach. Yeah.
yes,
West Palm
yes,
Beach.
West Palm,
West
West
Palm
Palm.
Beach. Not Palm Beach.
Get it right.
I know.
That's awesome. Um, but, so I so when I hear things from Florida, it's like part of me is like, oh, all my old people went there. And then the other part of me is like, what are y'all doing? Damn it. Come on. Stop it. Stop being
Mm-hmm.
mad at people who are queer. Stop being so judgy and mean. And I don't know. Like, so the fact that you're there and that you moved there while this was all happening and you're queering and you're being awesome there. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to have like commentary on it. I just want to thank you for existing there and like keeping the faith there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're still. I mean, we're still going to push on, you know. So SDS, we've done these local pop-ups, and we've done 2 in Miami at the World Erotic Art Museum. And
Mhm.
so, like I said, Miami is funny, right? All these people with their ass hanging out, but then, you know, and the Erotic Art Museum is nice and it's great there, but it doesn't make a whole lot of money, and it's basically there just for these, you know, millionaire children's trust thing, you know, like it's just
Right.
existing because it can exist. Um,
Mhm.
but there's so much conservatism. And so I'm really, you know, I feel like I had a big impact in Atlanta in helping with the sexual liberation piece.
Mhm.
So I feel pretty positive that maybe that I can help, you know, have some change here, right? I've presented at like the Frost Science Museum.
Mhm.
I've presented at, you know, the World Erotic Art Museum, and just really just trying to cultivate an understanding that people should embrace their sexuality and be okay and you know, do the fun things.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you worried at all about like schooling as your child gets older, like the things that they'll be able to learn about at all?
No, because I plan on homeschooling.
Okay.
So I plan on my goal is to have a homeschool community of like-minded mamas who, you
Mhm.
know, have similar age children. And so my goal is to be one of those mamas to homeschool. So help him during the day, and then, you know, I want to, you know, work smarter, not harder. So I
Mhm.
just want to be able to have some things in place that that will keep money coming in, and I can spend time with my little one. So my goal is to homeschool by the time he reaches elementary school age. So what is that, 5? So he
Yeah.
just turned 3.
There you
So
go.
yeah,
Okay.
so I got a couple of years to get my shit together.
That's right. Right. It's always gonna be right there, right there, yes. It'll be just in time, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Ah, my goodness, there's, like, so much information. Um, I did wanna ask you one other thing, like, do you feel the need to, like, get involved politically in Florida? Like, does that come up for you?
I don't know. Did you see where that mistress came into one of the Florida courtrooms or one of the Florida hearings and was like, this is mistress such and such. You need to give us $1 million to build our dungeon because we know that you are here playing with us and then pretending like we don't exist. So she came in with like 2 subs. They were all decked in like rubber latex, I mean, from head to
What?
toe,
I
and
have to look
came
it up.
into one of those like you should just be like Florida woman kinky, and I'm sure it'll probably pop up. Courtroom. And it wasn't a courtroom, it was one of those public, you know, it was like one of those public hearings, like
Right?
community hearings or whatever. Um,
Demands dungeon.
yeah, demands. Yes. You found it. Yes.
No, I'm just
Oh,
making up the headline. I'm sorry.
oh, I mean, that's pretty much what she said. She was like,
Okay.
instead of allocating money to whatever you're going to allocate it to, you need to give it to us.
Mhm.
And so I have faith because there's a lot of kinky people here. So I
Okay.
have faith that maybe the kinky folks who, you know, who have a ton of money will be able to make some positive change in the political climate. But I am not invested in a place where I don't know where if it's gonna where I'm gonna end up permanently. I
Mhm.
know my wife is gonna be retiring soon, so, you know, she's lived in Florida her whole life, so I think she wants to move out of state. So uh, I when it comes to political, like being politically aligned with things or moving things forward, I put my money mostly in
Mhm.
reproductive justice organizations. So I
Yep.
donate monthly to those. So that's what
There
I
you
feel
go.
most passionate about around that.
All right. Awesome. Yeah, I just didn't know, like, if it just, like, wells up in you, like, as a person who might be othered there, like, you're like, "I need to go," but apparently there's this woman walking into a public hearing who can handle some of that, so cool. She's got it. She's got it under control. Okay.
Right. There's a whole I mean, kink is really prominent here. There's a whole mommy, the whole mommy caregiver kink. Like
Mhm.
she has not a dungeon, but she has like a whole
Adult
nursery.
nursery type
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Adult baby nursery
Mhm.
with the crib and the diapers and the all the things. I want to visit it one day. So
Nice.
um
Yeah. You'll have to
but
tell me
yeah.
about that.
Yeah. I think it's in West Palm.
I'm not surprised. Oh my god. Whew. Well, Marla, is there anything that you want to tell the listeners today that, like, you would be remiss if we just kind of forgot and left out?
No, I mean, I would just say, check out, just to make sure, what should I say?
I
Huh.
know, it's always a curveball, no matter what.
Yeah. You know what? I think, when it comes to like, I love the intimacy ally, right? And I think one of the things predominantly that I feel like we fail ourselves is when we don't try things and we're not exploring. And I just want people to stay curious about themselves, stay curious about their bodies, stay curious about people, and stay
Mhm,
curious about other people's bodies and what
mhm,
they do and how they function. And I just encourage people to try things at least 3 times, because when we try things at least 3 times, we will the first time you're kind of like maybe I don't know. Second time you're still maybe I don't know. The third time you're like, nah, I really, maybe it's just not for me right now.
mhm.
And as we grow and evolve and our bodies change, I say come back to it 10 years later and then try it 3 more times again, because you never know, you might be into it. Because something that I was not into when I was in my 20s was definitely into my 30s,
Okay.
and now my 40s have definitely, taken a turn, so it's just like
Mhm.
uh, all the different changes of our body. I just would say, like, try things at least 3 times, give things a chance, stay curious about yourself, stay curious about your wants, needs, desires, other people's wants, needs, desires, and talk about sex to your friends. Talk about the things, talk about it, because we need to be more open about these things and not feel like there's shame or stigma attached to our sexual behavior.
Yeah.
Um, unless it's not consensual.
Yes.
um, then then we need to talk to you about some things. But for the most part, just really, stay curious.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Marla, I want to thank you so much for coming on. How can people find you? Are you accepting new clients? What are the best websites? Where can they follow you? All that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. You can always email me at gettips@velvetlipssexed.com. You can go to my website if you're thinking about coaching or anything like that. You can go to velvetlipssexed.com. If you're curious about the business coaching program, you can check me out at successful.biz, and that's SEXCESSFUL.biz. And you can, if you were curious about the Sex Down South conference, you can go to sexdownsouth.com. And if you're interested in race and kink stuff, I also have a website, raceandkink.com, where we have a bunch of different talks about all of the intersections of race and kink and all the different amazing pleasures that kink has to offer.
Hmm.
And so, and then on social media, you can find me at one Marla Stewart, the number one Marla Stewart, and Velvet Lips Sex Ed. That's sex without the E. But you can contact me. Yes, I'm accepting new clients. You can apply to be in my business coaching program, and I will follow up with a call with you if I think you are a good fit. Um, And, but yeah, follow me on social media, check me out on the website, check out the calendar, see what you might get into.
All right. Well, I want to thank you so much for spending your time here today with us. I feel like everybody's going to have to listen to this a couple of times to get all the information that you gave us. So that's amazing. And I want to thank everybody for listening today to this episode of Story Time with the Intimacy Ally, where we say fuck no to the status quo. Bye, my lovelies.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Storytime with the Intimacy Ally. We hope you learned a bit more about putting the fire back in your romantic relationships, exploring communication and emotional readiness in all relationships, and how to expand your definition of intimacy so you can reach your relationship goals. Go to theintimacyally.com to subscribe and never miss an episode. Follow the links in the show notes to social media and events. Till next time, keep on learning, growing, and thinking. Storytime with the Intimacy Ally podcast is meant for educational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered as health or mental health advice.